Welcome to the Scoop with Dukes. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka DukesTheScoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at DukesTheScoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have not already become a member of the channel, go to the description, hit the button right there where you can go become a member of the channel and you can give varying levels of support to keep this content coming at you. And also, make sure you go check out International Voice, a great independent black-owned company that makes phenomenal Christian clothing. They got phone cases and coffee mugs. They got a lot, bro. So just go check out International Voice. All right, guys, this is a CU scoop, and the news is out, and there's been smoke around this fire for a while now. And Marshall Faulk will be accepting the head coaching position at Southern University in Louisiana. First and foremost, congratulations to Marshall Faulk for becoming a head coach. Has a CEO mindset. I think it'll be a good fit. Wish him well. Saw some really good moments of him this year, coaching some guys up. One in particular, just getting toughness out of some of his guys. So, and I think the running back room this year probably had some. I think they had fair. If they would have ran the ball more, I think that running back room could have been a lot more successful. I think it was some things going on with the scheme and just the offense kind of being disjointed earlier. But I'd say, yeah, I think he'll do a good job, and Colorado will miss him. But the question is now who replaces him? And I've got some names that I've heard already. But this is the deal. When I think there are some guys who Colorado has their eyes on. Actually, I know that they have their eyes on, or at least being considered. But this is the deal. You got to figure out who's calling next year first. Um, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure the person who calls the offense will be coming from an outside source. Um, and I think that person could either B, if their position specialty is running backs, that person may want to coach the running backs if that's their position specialty, excuse me. If that person has a close relationship with the running backs coach, then they may want to bring their own guy because they may want to run the ball. And what I feel like Coach Prime made it clear, he wanted to run the ball and he wanted to run off play action. He wanted pro style offense where you run to pass. I think this year you weren't able, it didn't click. It just never clicked. All right, let's keep it a book. It never clicked. So now you put yourself in a position where you want to be able to get the most out of your running backs by having the same philosophy as the head coach. You got to pick a guy who's going to mesh with Coach Prime, who's going to mesh with the players. So I do think at this point, I would imagine that you find that the offensive coordinator would be found before the running back coach replacement. And you can understand why that would be. But this is the thing. Eric Bieniemy is a name that a lot of people have asked about. And I haven't heard this name as far as being in the search. But what I'm saying is if Eric Bieniemy is your offensive coordinator, I think currently he may be the running backs coach with the Bears. I need to search that, but I definitely saw him at the draft this past year with Bears clothing on. So I'm gonna check that in a second. But if Eric Bieniemy is your offensive coordinator, he also coaches the running back. So do you need that? Would you waste that position, on field position? Would you get a running backs coach who, or would you take that position slot? I think you can only have 10 and add it to another special or nuanced position. Or do you hire a running backs coach anyway, and maybe just promote from within and have him kind of apprentice under the offensive coordinator who will have the running backs as well. So when a coordinator doesn't have a position group, they call that to be a walking coordinator. For those that don't know, a walking coordinator is a coordinator that does not have a specific position that they coach. Pat Shermer, I think he was a quarterback. I had to go back and look at the hierarchy, but I knew Rob Livingston had safeties, right? So he also coached the safeties. So I think that's going to be telling. The offensive coordinator hire. Now, if the running backs coach is hired or announced, the new coach is announced before the offensive coordinator, it's going to tell you something. So a lot of times in the media and guys, who work in this industry, you read tea leaves and you understand how relationships impact things. So let's say the running backs coach is, I don't know, I don't want to put a name out there. You get a running backs coach who has coached with the offensive coordinator who may be out of work at the time, or who may have a coach or whose mentor may be transitioning. Then you can kind of read that tea leaf, say, oh, if they hired and announced this guy, or excuse me, or if it's a guy who may have had experience with somebody who's still in the playoffs. Like, you got to dig down and deep into relationships to kind of see how things work. But this is just for everybody else to kind of read the tea leaves, because truly no one knows what the mindset is. Well, I won't say the mindset, who the entire list of candidates are. Now, I know some guys who people are being looked at, but not to the point that I'd feel confident that they are actual candidates. I do feel is this. Now, this is my feeling. I think the offensive coordinator, running backs coach combo, and there could be more changes coming as well, but I think that combo, I think you're going to get a good amount of college experience out of one of those two positions, if not both. I think you'll get somebody with some recruiting chops, someone who's recruited before. I think you're going to see this time around, I think that you're going to see some guys who have done it in college at different places who may be tied to the program, or some guys who maybe they're not tied to the program. Maybe they're just college guys who have done it at a high level and have earned the respect of a Coach Prime. This is something I think a lot of people forget about but Coach Prime met a lot of people in the college game, not only because of when he had his own school, not only because of the 7-on-7 circuit, but when Shador was being recruited, when Shiloh was being recruited, guys who he mentored in his programs, not just because he was the head of the program, but actually being leaned on in recruiting for other players. So he knows a ton of college coaches, and I think at this point, and you look at some of the guys who have no experience in high schools and different places that are on their staff. You look at a guy like Hageman, who worked a ton of Under Armour camps and has relationships with kids from years prior. I think when you have relationships with football players, that lends to having relationships with coaches and guys who work in the industry. So I'd be surprised if you didn't see a good amount of college experience come over in either the offensive coordinator hire or the running backs coach hire, or maybe even both. One important thing about hiring somebody with college experience is having prior relationships and recruiting and actually being able to bring somebody with you. One of the things that made Coach Prime so successful with the 9-win season is that a lot of those guys came with him. He brought his Louis luggage. Year one, that was the biggest joke in town. Everybody loved to say, "Oh, well, what happened to his Louis luggage?" I don't know why that bothers so many people, but Deion Sanders is a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Cam Sealman-Craig is playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. BJ Green is playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think BJ got there afterwards, I believe. Y'all check me on that. But Shiloh, he brought starters with him. There was guys in Colorado that he brought with him, not just the highest end, but he brought enough players to be competitive in a to flip that program in a short period of time. And I think that revisiting that strategy would be good for Colorado. I can't guarantee it, but that's what I'm expecting, that you'll have some guys who will be able to bring guys, and I think that's going to be important in this hiring cycle. So who do you think? Who do you think would be a good running backs coach? Who do you think would be a good offensive coordinator hire? Drop those choices. Drop your choices. Drop your selections in the comments and let me know. And for sure, man, Marshall Faulk, Coach Faulk, legend, Hall of Famer, did a great job in Colorado, man. Enjoy your time in Southern. And everybody else, man, appreciate you. Thank you. Make sure you like and hit the subscribe button. I am out.